Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being on with us this afternoon and wanting to just kind of hear about how you can take care of yourself emotionally and physically pre-retirement and also in retirement. We're going to just be sharing some healthy tips for all of you. It's probably stuff you've already heard before, but it's always good to hear it again. And it's a lot easier said than done to take care of yourself. But just some good reminders for you today. As for some housekeeping issues for everyone, this seminar is going to be recorded. So if you have any questions or any concerns, just keep in mind that it will be recorded. We will allow for some time at the end of the seminar. If you have any questions or concerns that we can definitely answer, we will leave some time for you all to ask at that time. If you have a question or a concern during the seminar, you are more than welcome to go ahead and share it in your chat room function. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Zoom, you can find the chat button either by scrolling at the top of your screen or at the bottom of your screen. And you can go ahead and ask any question that you have. Just keep in mind that when you do pose a question, it is public. So other participants on today's seminar will be seeing that. You can always direct message us as panelists as well if you have a more personal question, or you can wait at the end and we can share our personal contact information with you and speak with you directly after today's seminar. So as far as introductions, my name is Christina Perea and I am the Outreach Bureau Chief for PERA, and I am housed out of our Santa Fe office, but because of teleworking, I'm in and out of the office due to COVID. With me today as well is my wonderful colleague, Christina Gauthier, and she is out of our Albuquerque office, and she is our Public Relations Coordinator Extraordinaire. Christina has been with PERA for, I believe, every year I ask her, but I believe it's over 16 years with PERA. So we're very lucky to have her. She's my PERA gem, as I call her. And so we're just going to be, again, offering some tips to all of you. And again, please feel free to put your question in the chat room, or you can always interrupt us as we go forward. So today's theme of our webinar, because it is National Wellness Month, is Refresh, Rejuvenate, and Retire. So, a lot of the times we get busy with the hustle and bustle of our daily lives. So a lot of us, could be parents, we could be caregivers, we have more than one job. We have passions outside of work that we're busy with. And so it's hard sometimes for us to kind of just reconnect with ourselves and really just be self-aware of, how we're feeling emotionally, how we're feeling physically. I, for one, can say that sometimes I get so overwhelmed that I come to a breaking point. And then I start expressing, my physical ailments and my emotional ailments to my loved ones. And, sometimes that's worse off for us. And I'll be the first to say that for myself. And so today we're just going to share some tips. But before we start, I just kind of wanted to share with you all that there was a recent study done by Fidelity, and this was done just this year in May. And they found that a 65-year-old couple retiring in 2022 will spend an average of $315,000 in healthcare and medical expenses in retirement. That is 5% higher than what they found last year. And they also found that Americans really just underestimate the costs that they're going to see in retirement as far as medical and healthcare. And so, we're really trying to educate our members now and even our retirees that it's so important that you take care of yourself so that way you avoid having medical expenses in retirement. And with that statistic, we find as you get older, this is all of us, this is young adults, this is older adults, we face a lot more medical risks. We find that we face a lot more disability risks. Unfortunately, at some point in our life, we lose our partner or a close loved one that we, shared a financial and, emotional life with. And that can be daunting and really affect your health. longevity risks. I think some of the times, we feel invincible and we feel really good, and then all of a sudden something happens, life happens, and you're facing a health issue that could potentially affect you for the rest of your life. Frailty risks, we might come across a loved one or your partner who is facing their own health issues. So now you kind of have to be in that mindset of, how is this going to affect us long term and short term? And then there's just long-term care risks that we don't think about as well. You may be a social drinker, you might be an everyday drinker, and you might just be in that moment of enjoying it, but really not looking at the long-term risks that it poses to your health, your emotional and your physical health. So there's a lot of risks that we often every day don't think about. And so today we're going to kind of just get into that mindset of, how can we make ourselves or set ourselves up for, a healthy long-term lifestyle, and really, looking into retirement, how can I keep myself healthy? So to kind of just give you a gist of our members here at PERA, the average age of PERA's active members is 46 years old. So you might be in this demographic, you might not. But that's just an average age of our active members. And then we also serve over 47,000 active members. And so, the more education, the more members that we can reach, the better. Just so that we, like I said, we get so busy with life that we tend to not take care of ourselves, or we think we're going to be okay. And unfortunately, at some point in our lives, we might not be. So some healthy tips for our active members is to exercise. So I know that we hear this all the time. We see it on TV, and unfortunately in our day and age, it's everywhere. And there's a lot of pressure, I think, as well from media on what they expect you to look like, what they expect you to be like. But really the daily recommendation for someone is 30 minutes a day. So I know a lot of you are probably like Christina and myself, where we may be teleworking most of the time, or you may have gone back to the office full time, or you're on a hybrid schedule. So there are a lot of things that you can do as far as exercise without having to pay for a gym membership, etc. They do recommend 30 minutes a day, like I mentioned. So that could be a nice walk, getting out of your office or getting out of your house. I have a bad habit now that I'm teleworking where I forget to get up and exercise just because I'm in front of my laptop all day. So it's super important that you take at least that 30 minutes a day for yourself. I now with COVID, I invested in a Peloton bike, and that's something that the instructors stress to you all the time. When you're on the bike, whether you're walking or you're at the gym or you're doing a home fitness program at home, that 30 minutes is precious. So use it wisely. I have a bad habit of taking my cell phone everywhere or putting my laptop when I'm exercising. And I have to remind myself to get out of that mindset of this is my time, this is my lunch time for myself. And so again, I know we don't hear it enough, but you are important. And if you don't take care of yourself, then unfortunately no one will. And you may be the mother at home or the father or the loved one, the caregiver that puts everybody before you. You put everyone before yourself. And so it's very important that you take time to take care of yourself, whether it's by walking or meditating, or just getting up to stretch for 30 minutes. So that's a huge tip. Another tip is to stay hydrated. I think we all hear this on a daily basis, to drink as much water as you can. I know that it's recommended that you at least drink 8 glasses of water a day. And it's going to depend also on your body type, your own, health issues that you may have as to how much you should hydrate yourself. Especially if you're going to be outside and you're taking that 30-minute exercise, have a water bottle with you, or when you're going to the gym. I think that's like a huge thing that we all hear all the time. Another tip is to keep those unhealthy office snacks out of sight and out of mind. And I know that's easier said than done. I know pre-COVID, Christina and I used to go into the office and there used to be donuts, there used to be bagels. There used to be everything you can think of. And I, for one, can admit that I was always there in the snack room or in our break room getting snacks. And so for those of you who are going back to the office or whether you're in a hybrid schedule, I don't know what's worse, staying home and being around, food all day is any easier. But I have gotten into the habit here at home, where we don't buy, well, we try not to buy as much junk food as we usually did before. So it's that whole mental, reminder is, if you don't see it, then it's better. I think sometimes when it's in your face, it's a lot harder. And so one tip that was recommended is, if you're back in the office and you have that coworker, and I love those coworkers, that has that jar of chocolate or just little candies, just try to avoid it. They say to walk around or to ask that coworker maybe to meet you in a meeting room or in your office to go over something, just so that way you avoid that temptation. Another tip was to eat healthier. And again, this is probably the one thing that is easier said than done. And again, I will be the first one to admit that this is hard for me because I love food. And so it's just advised that you eat healthier, you have a healthier lifestyle. Again, everyone's going to be different. And so it's always recommended to talk with your doctor or a nutritionist to see what meal plan works best for you. There's some people who tend to go to a keto lifestyle. There's some people who go to just an eat clean kind of platform where there's no carbs, it's vegetables and protein. So it really just depends. But I know that I have spoken and have met with a nutritionist, and they, kind of have given me my own personalized, customizable meal plan. And so that's something that has been recommended to people as well. It's unfortunate with all of this, with exercise and eating healthy, we always have that excuse of, it's expensive, I can't afford it. But really, at the end of the day, it's a huge investment in your life. And like we were mentioning, you always have those potential health risks. And so it gets super expensive as you get older. And so it's a wonderful investment for you all to just invest in your health. So just some tips on that. Another tip is to improve your workplace posture. And so again, now with COVID, I think all of us had to adapt to whatever our agency implemented. As for Christina and I, for the first, 2 years, we were at home. And so, I think all of us were frantically looking for office desks, or some of us were working on our couch, or some of us at the dining room table. And we still do this. We don't really think about it until the end of the day when our neck is hurting or our eyes are hurting because we've been in front of the computer all day. Some of you may have just a laptop like myself and Christina, or some of you may have a workstation where you have 2 monitors in front of you. And so it could be very overwhelming regardless. And so now with COVID, I think all of us have really noticed our workplace posture. And so they recommend that if you keep your computer or your laptop at least arm's length. And so this will help your eyesight, it'll help your neck. They recommend that if you can, to use a headset instead of a phone. I think we get into that habit where we're in front of our computer and we have our phones and we're like this and we're trying to type because we have a million things we're still trying to do. And that can really cause a lot of issues with your neck and your back. And so I know that in some agencies, they do offer, maybe ergonomic chairs. They might have things to just help your neck. They may offer headsets. They will also offer standing desks. I know that can help with your posture as well. And so I recommend and suggest that you speak with your HR or your supervisor to see how you can help yourself in your workplace station. I think this is probably the best tip, and probably everybody's favorite tip, is take a vacation. They find that when employees take a break from work, and you go and enjoy yourself physically and mentally, you come back rejuvenated. And so it's recommended, that you take at least one trip a year. If you can do it more than that, then great, that's awesome. But it really does help your emotional well-being and your physical well-being. And it can be something that, a vacation out of state. It can even be in state. You can have a staycation. Here in New Mexico, we're very blessed to have so many amazing historic sites, museums, wildlife reserves. And so I definitely recommend that you take a look to see how you can take care of yourself and take a vacation. If not this year, plan for something next year. It's a huge recommendation that I found in my research prior to the seminar. That is something that is very, it's a good investment. So I definitely encourage you to take a vacation. Another tip was to disinfect your work area. So again, back to, I'm going to be mentioning this a lot now that we're teleworking. We get so busy with the hustle and bustle of work. I think more so now just because we have more time. But they recommend that you wipe down your laptop, you wipe down your phone once a day, especially now going back to work. Unfortunately, we're seeing a rise now in COVID cases within the workplace now that all of us are going back. And so it's very important that you disinfect your work area. I think a lot more agencies now have hand sanitizer in the hallways, in the bathrooms, break rooms. And so just kind of be more aware. I think it's a huge wake up call now with COVID, because I think before all of us, we never thought what it would, how we would be affected if we shook someone's hands, or if, we went to a public place and someone was talking really close to us. Like, there's just a lot that we've learned from COVID. And so it's so important that you take care of yourself in that sense about disinfecting your work area. Another tip is to avoid burnout. I think this is huge. I think a lot of us put work on a pedestal, which it should be. It definitely should be, especially as public servants here in New Mexico. I think we take that very seriously, and we're very passionate about our work and how we can help our fellow New Mexicans. But sometimes I think we don't put ourselves first. Again, going back to that, and we face burnout. And so it's unfortunate because we get to that place in our career where we're just exhausted, we're tired, we're not even happy to come to work anymore. And it's super important that we try to avoid that, because if you haven't heard it from your supervisor, or if you haven't heard it from a coworker, you are important and your work matters here in New Mexico. And if, like I said, if no one has reminded you of that, I'm reminding you of that. Christina's reminding you of that. We're huge advocates here in New Mexico. And so what you do matters. And so we definitely want you to avoid that burnout, because we need you and New Mexicans need you. Another tip that kind of goes with that as well is know your limits. And so it's a lot easier said than done now that if you are teleworking or you're getting back to the office, I think we're putting a lot more pressure on ourselves, because these last 2.5 years, we've been disconnected from seeing customers, or maybe you've been seeing customers this whole entire time, and, it's been overwhelming. And so it's very important that you are self-aware, you know your limits, and take time to meditate. This is something that I've incorporated now in my daily routine. And it doesn't have to be a formal meditative plan or process. There's so much apps on phones right now that you can download a free app. I have the app where I think it's called Relax, and for 30 seconds or for a minute a day, I just sit there, I close my eyes, and I just really become more self-aware of what do I need this today, or how can I take care of myself today? What am I grateful for today? I think a lot of the times we watch the news, we talk to family and loved ones, and there's so much negativity around us that we get caught up in it. And so it's super important that you take time to focus on the good things. How can you take care of yourself in that day? How can you take care of yourself during the week? It's super important that you try to do that for yourself, again, because if you don't do it, no one will. And you want to avoid any health risks in the future, mentally and physically. one huge thing, another tip is looking into your employee benefits. And so as a state member, municipal, county, judicial, everything all above, as far as being a PERA member, you do have health benefits. And so it's super important that you talk with your HR division and your health insurance company to see what benefits that you could take advantage of. I know that some healthcare insurance companies, they offer free gym memberships, they offer discounted gym memberships. There's even programs. We have a couple of coworkers in the office who are in a meal plan, and they get their own health advocate that they talk to on a weekly basis, who provides them with a meal plan, gives them, advice as far as exercise. And so there's just a lot out there that we're not aware of until we actually ask, or if it's not advertised. And so I definitely encourage you all to look into what benefits your health insurance offers. Even your agency might offer a fitness policy where you have an extra 30 minutes a day to exercise or just take care of your emotional and your physical health. And so definitely encourage you all to look into that. For future seminars, we will have some presenters that will talk about some of those things that do come with your health insurance or just by being a state employee or a county employee. So we'll definitely be advertising that soon. One thing as an active member that we really try to share with you all is what amazing benefits our deferred compensation plan brings. Since we're in that topic of being financially healthy, emotionally and physically healthy, this is a huge way for you to not only be financially healthy, but also to help with your physical and mental health. And so our Smart Save Deferred Compensation Plan is just a voluntary savings plan that we offer for our members. It's probably one of the top 5 in the country, just because of the benefits that it does offer. Christina and I can't even tell you how many times a day where we get people from outside of PERA who want to become members. I'm sure our Smart Save representatives get a lot more calls for people who are interested in being part of it, because that's how amazing this plan is. As far as the financial, healthy way of looking at it, you can start saving so that way you have this savings account in retirement in case you do come across a medical problem that is going to affect you on a short-term and even a long-term basis. It'll help you just feel a lot better in retirement, knowing that you have this extra savings, whether maybe you need it in the future to make house improvements, or maybe, again, you had a physical ailment that you need this money to pay your mortgage for the month because of how high your medical costs are for your ailment. As far as for your physical and mental health, again, going back to, this will definitely be a good savings plan for you if, heaven forbid, something happens to you on or off the job. You have this savings account to cover you, whether it's your medical expenses or whether it's, again, your mortgage. Whether, a lot of the times members come to us and say, you know what, Christina, I had a huge leak in my house and I can't cover it this month. How do I go about using my Smart Save funds to cover that? Or again, I'm going back to vacation, how important that is. A lot of members use that as a loan provision as well, to kind of, think about their emotional health and cover expenses. And so whenever you do take a loan from your Smart Save account, when it's time for you to pay it back, you're paying yourself, and you're not seeing a lot of penalties and fees from a bank or a credit union if you did take a loan from them. And so if you don't have a Smart Save account, I definitely encourage you to look into it, as it will definitely help you with your physical and your emotional health now and in the future. For our retirees that are on with us today, a lot of tips are going to be kind of similar. And even if you're not a retiree, I would definitely encourage you to take a listen to these as well. So that way you're just a lot more aware of, things that maybe you don't think about on a daily basis, but that you probably will in retirement. So just to give you an idea of our membership, the average age of our retirees is 68 years old. And we serve over 42,000 retirees and beneficiaries. So we have a huge population of retirees. One of the first tips that is recommended is finding a purpose. So I witnessed this with my mom when she became retired, as well as my dad. You get so caught up in a routine of work, taking care of your kids, taking care of a loved one. And then when it gets time to retire, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I have all this time, and for over 20 years, I was in this career where this was my life. And now what do I do with myself? So finding a purpose. I recommend for retirees that, or maybe you're getting ready to retire, start looking into volunteer opportunities, or there's so much that you could do. You could focus on your health, start attending, fitness classes, look at continuing education classes. Maybe, prior to your PERA career, you had wanted to pursue art, or you wanted to become a barber or a cosmetologist. There are tons of classes out there that are even free that you can look into. It's just super important that you find a purpose in retirement, so that way you're happy, and you take care of yourself emotionally and physically. And this was a cute one that I had come across in research. A tip is to consider a furry friend. It doesn't have to be a dog. It could be a cat. It could be a hamster. It could be a fish. I think a lot of the times, again, we put people before ourselves, or we have to have someone to take care of or something to take care of. It's just our heart, and it's just who we are as a person. And so it's recommended that you consider having a dog or some sort of animal to watch over. They find that it helps people avoid dementia as well as Alzheimer's, when you have someone to take care of and you're in that routine of having that furry friend with you. So that was a tip I came across. Another tip was to pick the right place to live. So I think a lot of the times we don't ever really think about this, but your environment shapes your health. And so, I think a lot of people come to New Mexico and retire in New Mexico just because we have amazing air quality when we don't have wildfires. We can escape to a forest 5 minutes down the road. We have rivers to go fish. We have, like I mentioned earlier, these wonderful museums and parks that we can take advantage of. And so I think all of us here are in a really good place to live in retirement or on a daily basis. But you have people who may have some health issues where they have to go to another state because maybe their hospital is nearby or the clinic that they're going to is nearby. And so there's, some things to start thinking about, even if you're not a retiree, as to, how your environment is going to affect you in retirement. And so for our retirees, I know this is probably huge, if you're getting ready to retire. And again, eating healthy. As a retiree, it's so important that you take care of yourself, especially if you have a lot more time on your hands. I hear from my mom. My mom's more busy now that she's retired than she was active. And so there's that honey-do list. There's your own list of things that you want to accomplish. And so I know my mom, I scold her all the time. She gets up in the morning. She'll have a yogurt. She'll go outside and clean her yard. And then she won't come inside the house until 6 o'clock, and she didn't eat that whole entire time. She drank her water, but she didn't eat. And so I think you get into that mental state of you're just doing, and you're going, that you forget to eat. And so again, it's so important what you put in your body. And so again, yes, eat healthy. Another tip is to get out of the house. And again, I'm sure you're probably seeing these tips that even affect you as an active member and not only as a retiree. It's so important that you make time to get out of the house, whether it's a brisk or a small walk. Just taking time for yourself mentally to just, get out of your house, get away from the cleaning, get away from your to-do list, and just take that time for yourself. Another tip was make exercise fun. And that's one way you could, is to go take a walk, go hiking, go take a Zumba class, go take a continuing education class, and maybe learn how to swim. There's so much to do, and you want to make it fun, especially in retirement. And so I definitely encourage you to take a look at how you can do that, whether it's at a gym, whether it's at home. Like I mentioned, there's so much mobile apps right now, that you can download something to your cell phone, to your iPad, your laptop, and you can find amazing programs. Even on YouTube, my daughters and I will get on YouTube and look up dance fitness videos. And those are fun for us because we get to dance with each other and just be goofy and silly. But you're still burning calories while you're doing it. So just some recommendations for that. Even active and retired members, don't miss your medical checkups. As we get older, again, we face a lot more complications. We face a lot more issues that could come up potentially in the future. We all have to get our mammograms. You have to go in for your checkups for A, B, C, and D. And so it's so important that you don't miss out on those checkups with your doctor, or your PA, your nurse, because really they're the ones that are going to tell you what your body needs, not only emotionally, but physically as well. I think emotional health is very much stigmatized, and it's okay to see a counselor. I think a lot of people are hush hush about it, but really it's so important. Your emotional health is important. I know when my dad passed 10 years ago, I went and saw a counselor, and that was probably the best thing I ever did. And so I definitely encourage all of you, especially now with COVID, we've been away from our loved ones, our friends, and I think a lot of us probably went through a really bad depression during COVID. I know I did, not seeing coworkers. I had just had my newborn at the time. And I think I had a little bit of postpartum depression. And so it's so important that you're just self-aware of that, and that you know that there is help for you out there. I know there's national hotlines now for COVID. And so there's so much free resources that you don't even have to pay for to take care of your emotional health. So again, can't stress that enough. Another recommendation was to stimulate your mind. So this is something that my mom, I keep bringing her up for things she's going to smack me, and today's her birthday. So she's going to smack me even more. But now that she's retired, she has really gotten into puzzles. And she doesn't pick the easy puzzles. She picks puzzles that take her like a week to do. This is one way to stimulate your mind. I know my mom has a mobile app where she does like word puzzles to kind of just stimulate her mental health. In my family, Alzheimer's and dementia runs really deep. And so I know my mom's already self-aware of that. So these are just things that she's done to kind of just take care of her mental health. So puzzles, mobile apps, so much that you could do to stimulate your mind and just to keep that occupied. So that was a huge tip for our retirees. Another tip that we, I guess, don't really think about that much is houseproofing for our safety. So as you get older, maybe considering a ramp up to your doorway. I know that my dad, this was something that he thought long-term for our houses. So he built a ramp for us, especially if they got older, or my grandparents at the time were in a wheelchair. So this was one way that it made it easier for them to visit us. Shower handles when you get out of the shower are huge. There's so much that, even looking in your kitchen, ways to keep yourself healthy and safe. And so these are just some things to start thinking about. If you're considering a move, maybe these are just some things that you put on your list. Do I really need a 2-story house as I'm getting older? Like, is there an elevator in, which is probably for the normal person, that's something that they couldn't afford in their house. But, get into that mentality now that you're getting older and maybe looking to resettle in a different home, how you can make it easier and safer for yourself. Another tip was to work for fun and for brain power. So as a retiree, again, I mentioned finding purpose. You might have a lot more time on your hands that you didn't think was possible. So a lot of you may have already worked or gone back to work for someone outside of PERA. And you just want to make sure that you're in a position or in a job where it's fun for you. It's not obligatory. It's not something that you dread going to. Maybe you started working because you wanted to meet new people or you wanted to start a new hobby. More power to you. And that's the mindset that you should have. If you're in a job right now as a retiree and you are not happy and it's affecting your emotional and your physical health, I will be the first one to tell you that it's time to go and to move on to bigger and better things. And so not only does it affect your emotional health and your physical health, but it also affects your brain. You did your service, you worked for over 20, 30 years. You do not deserve to be in a job where it's affecting you negatively. So Christina and I will be the first ones to tell you that today and to remind you about that. Sleep is super important as well, not only as a retiree, but also as an active member. It's always recommended that you sleep for 8 hours. And so if you're less than that, maybe rethink your schedule. It's recommended that you don't look at your phone prior to going to sleep because that will affect you going to sleep. There's so much resources out there to get you prepared for sleep, whether it's a meditation app or music that can help you. So I definitely encourage you to get those 8 hours of sleep, as it will affect you emotionally and physically. Another tip was manage your time better. So like I mentioned, now as a retired member, you might have a honey-do list or goals that you have inside the house or outside the house. And so do not overwhelm yourself because you're retired. You're supposed to be enjoying retirement. And so again, this is just a reminder to you, if you haven't heard it, take time for yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. And again, don't avoid that burnout of the everyday stress. Another tip was to, as you get older, to involve a trusted family member or friend in your financial affairs. So again, this could go to you as an active member and it could go to you as a retired member. It's so important that you have a financial plan. Christina and I and our colleague Jose, we offer our monthly seminars to members on a monthly basis, and we stress to them how important it is to have your beneficiary designation information set up, whether it's through PERA or whether it's in your own personal documentation. Have a will set up, have a power of attorney set up. When my dad passed away, my great aunt came to me and said, one thing that's guaranteed in life we don't think about, and that is death, unfortunately, or health ailments. And so it's so important that you have someone that you trust who can oversee your financial affairs, whether you pass away or whether you get older and you start developing Alzheimer's or dementia. You definitely want to leave that information in good hands. And so it's so important that you pick someone who you can trust with your financial affairs. Another subject that is super important to start thinking about is having a medical and a long-term care plan. Again, I think a lot of us are in good health now. We think we're invincible. I think I'm invincible. And heaven forbid we come across a health ailment, or we have a physical ailment, or it could be even getting into a car accident. It could be, I was watching, I don't know if you're Shania Twain fans, but I just watched her documentary on Netflix. And she was just out on her horse riding, and she got bit by a tick and has Lyme disease. And it affected her whole entire life. She couldn't sing anymore. Physically, she was really, impacted. And so these are just things we don't ever think about could happen to us. And so it's so important that you have a medical and a long-term care plan. And again, that you leave it in good hands with a trusted family member or a friend, as to, whether you come from a big family or you don't have anybody in your life that you can trust. Having someone or putting it in your will or your estate right now to, if something were to ever happen to you, you have this plan for someone to follow. So again, these are two very touchy subjects and it's not talked about a lot. But again, Christina and I are here today just to remind you of that, of how important your financial affairs are and your medical affairs are as an active member and a retired member. As far as tips, I think that's all we had for you today. Does anybody, I'm curious to know too, is there anything that I may have missed? Does anybody have another tip that maybe, you would think would help or benefit anybody on today's presentation? And let us know. We can, if you raise your hand, we will go ahead and unmute you because I think everybody's unmuted. But you can even share it in our chat function as well.
Miss Christina, the one thing I would say that I advocate to our members and, upcoming retirees during presentations is to make sure your health is in check before you get to the finish line, strictly because I have interacted with so many members who say, oh, I'm going to put off that knee replacement, hip replacement, XYZ major surgery until post-retirement. When you consider the amazing benefits your employers offer, your out-of-pocket today as an active employee is far less expensive than it will be post-retirement. I know not all of our 300 plus affiliated employers participate in retiree healthcare, but my parents both retired, one from PERA, one from ERB, the Educational Retirement Board. And when my mother got sick, she was in the emergency room one November. They stabilize you, and then the folks show up with the paperwork and say, hi, you owe us X thousands of dollars. And then when the clock reset January 1st, her next appointment, they were like, hi, you owe us X thousands of dollars. And so from a physical, emotional, financial standpoint, making sure your health is in check prior to retirement is the best way to save money post-retirement. I had a dear friend who actually used to work for both PERA and the Educational Retirement Board. Her prescriptions were manageable in terms of cost while she was an active employee. When she transitioned into retirement, the cost of her prescription medications, nearly tripled, and she was not prepared for that. And so I always tell folks the best way to save money post-retirement is to go into retirement healthy. So that'll definitely be my spiel. But these tips are amazing and absolutely relevant in the moment. As someone who is a member of the sandwich generation, I'm caring for my father who has dementia and raising my girls. Trying to keep everyone healthy is no small feat on top of, full-time jobs and other things that we take care of as working adults. So I can't say that I see anyone in the audience who has raised their hand, but you do have a Q&A option also at the bottom of your screen, depending on the method you logged in. You're welcome to drop those tips there as well. But thank you so much for all of this amazing information.
Yeah, and it's interesting the different generational dynamics. Like Christina said, she comes from that generation now where she's caring for her father and caring for her kiddos. And so, I learn a lot from Christina and friends and family who are in similar situations on a daily basis as to how I can prepare for that. Like I mentioned, my mom comes from a long line of Alzheimer's and dementia like Christina's father is going through. And so I'm trying to prepare myself and my family right now. We always consider, moving out of state to just to do it. But then we move back and we're like, no, because what happens to my mom? What happens to my in-laws? I have a sister-in-law who also is Down syndrome. And so we're already trying to prepare with my mother-in-law when she gets older, that we're going to take care of her, or my brother-in-law is going to take care of her. And so, again, these are just things that we normally don't think about, or maybe we avoid thinking about until we get to that point where something happens to a loved one or it happens to ourselves. And then we're like, oh my gosh, I should have listened. Why didn't I listen? Or why didn't I do anything about it? And so, again, these were just reminders, for you all, if you haven't heard from a loved one or a friend kind of reminding you of these things, this is just a friendly, we care for you reminder to members as to how you can take care of yourself and your loved ones, but more importantly, you emotionally and physically. If there aren't any other questions, we just wanted to remind everybody to thank everybody that PERA is celebrating 75 years. And so you saw the announcement yesterday by email that it was PERA Day. So by the legislature, it has been recognized as PERA Day, August 1st of 2022. And we've been celebrating all year long. So a lot of you maybe have already been on past monthly seminars. We've been trying to give you some good topics every month. And so we just encourage you to follow us again this year and celebrate with us. We do have a 75th anniversary website that you can get on and just kind of see some good history as to how we were established, where we are now. It's kind of cool looking at newspaper articles when we were first established. We only started with a handful, I think it was like 50 employers. Now we're at 335 employers. We only had 100 and I believe 15 retirees in 1953, I believe. So even a few years after it was established. And now we're seeing that on a monthly basis here at PERA. So we've come a really long way. We're always a top 5 retirement plan in the country, and it's because of members like you. And so we're very thankful to you all as being valuable PERA members, and we look forward to celebrating with you all. It's unfortunate we haven't been able to do any in-person seminars or in-person celebrations. And we're hopeful that, with COVID, we're very hopeful that we can do something before the end of the year. But for right now, we're doing it virtually. Our next seminar theme is going to be navigating the retirement racetrack. And so we are actually planning to have 3 different seminars in September, and we're going to shape them around different topics on retirement preparation. We're going to have a lot of different presenters from different agencies on with us as well, so that way we could provide you with as much information as we can in those 3 seminars. And so I definitely encourage you all, if you're getting ready to retire, or maybe you're early on in your career, it's still valuable information to kind of just help you prepare. So that way, when you're in retirement, you're a pro by then. So we just definitely encourage you all to be on with us for those seminars. That'll take place September 1st, our first one, and we'll be advertising the other dates here in the next couple of weeks as well. As always, if you have any questions at all on your PERA account or just in general, please feel free to reach out to us. We have 2 offices. We have one in Santa Fe and one in Albuquerque, and they are open to the public on a first come, first serve basis. So you can go in and be able to talk with a PERA specialist the day that you go in. We haven't had some big crowds, and I think it's just because of COVID. So we don't see long wait times. We have some amazing customer service representatives who are there to help you and to take care of you. So we invite you to give us a visit. If not, you can call us. Sometimes we have power outages, or there's just something that has been going on with our phone. So we do not encourage members to stay on the phone longer than even 2 minutes. You can always email us or give us a call the next day. Sometimes, like I said, we had a huge power outage in Santa Fe not too long ago, and there were members who were on the phone waiting for 45 minutes. And we never want you to wait that long. Like, I don't even in my own personal life stay on the wait line that long. So we definitely encourage you to email us. You can email PERA-member services or PERA-Albuquerque at state.nm.us, and we will take care of you. We do have a fax option, so if you ever wanted to send anything, that is available as well. We also have the noreply.records@state.nm.us email. If you ever want to send anything, just keep in mind with that one, you won't get a reply back. But if you do email us at PERA-member services and PERA-Albuquerque, you will definitely get a response. And you are more than welcome to electronically scan and email documents via those emails as well. We do have webinars, monthly webinars on general information about PERA, and then we also have a retirement preparation seminar in person and virtual every month. So we definitely encourage you to get on with us on one of those if you already haven't. We also are on social media, and I promise we're not going to stalk you. We're not going to see if you went to the gym today or if you went to meditate tomorrow. We really use it to just filter information to you all. So you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So all of our monthly seminars as part of the 75th anniversary series are on YouTube. So if you ever missed any, you can actually go back on your own time and be able to watch those videos as well. So we definitely encourage you to follow us on social media. And with that being said, again, thank you so much for the last 75 years. And we look forward to serving you going forward for another 75 and more. We definitely are invested in PERA. Just because we work for PERA, we're still affected as members ourselves. And so we are just as passionate about keeping PERA solvent, not only for our kids, our grandkids, etc., but we are here for you. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to us if you sent something in and you haven't heard from someone at PERA, or you're having a hard time reaching someone. Definitely reach out to us. And if you want our direct contact information, we can definitely share that in the chat function as well. So thank you so much, and we'll keep it open for questions and answers if anybody has any. Great. Thank you for so much, Maria and Karen, for being on with us. We really appreciate you. And it doesn't look like we have any questions, so we will go ahead and let everybody go. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being on with us.